you do better tomorrow? Making it easy as possible. Have a plan in place for when that inevitably happens. Hi, my name's Anissa and I'm a software developer who spent 6 months self-studying and 3 months in a bootcamp, and these are 10 things that I learned to help you stay focused when learning how to code. Okay, my first tip is to create a separate space on your computer for coding. Do this by creating a new user on your account with a new desktop background and name, maybe Anissa-coding, and set up your whole coding environment on this user. You can even block certain websites on this user if you have to. This way, whenever you log onto that user, your brain kind of automatically knows not to go into your regular browsing or YouTube mode. It knows to go into coding mode because we don't really have the luxury of having a whole separate office that we can go to right now to code. So a lot of these tips involve kind of creating a space in your mind or wherever we can that's separate and reserved for coding so that you can stay more focused when you're learning. Okay, step 2 is to create a ritual or kind of routine that you do every time you sit down to study. This could be something really simple. For example, mine was every time I would study, I would make myself a green tea and put lo-fi music on. This was great for 2 reasons. One is that every time I would then make green tea or listen to lo-fi, my brain would automatically know that it was time to code because I only did those things when I was coding, so I would get into study mode. And 2, because I actually really like green tea and lo-fi, so I would get excited to code because I knew that I could also have green tea and listen to lo-fi music, and it just made the whole experience more enjoyable. Find something that makes you feel relaxed and calm that you can pair with coding, and every time you code, you do that thing too. Tip 3 is to schedule time to code and be specific. Block out a chunk of time in your calendar. For example, on Tuesday from 7 to 9 p.m. I'm going to code, and plan in advance exactly what you're going to work on. So say I'm going to work on section 4 from my Udemy course and then replicate the code on my own after. This way, your brain has time to mentally prepare for what's coming, and it's harder to back out of a plan that you've already made. Also, you're not going to waste any time figuring out what to do, which could end up distracting you and then maybe even prevent you from getting any work done at all. A lot of what we're really doing here is making it easy as possible to get started, because often starting is actually the hardest part. Step 4, aka step 3 on a mild stimulant, is to schedule that session with a friend. It doesn't have to be a friend who codes, just someone who wants to get some work done, and those people are not very hard to find. So now if you find that friend, you're even more locked into your study session. And if you have a friend who does code, there's going to be a tip for you later. Step 5 is to keep track of your work. At the end of each day, write down what you accomplished, and if you didn't do anything, write that too, it's important. Use this time to reflect on what's working and what's not working in your program. If you got no work done, write down why you think that was and how can you do better tomorrow. If you tried a new technique that worked really well, write that down and keep doing it. This is a really great way to stay accountable, not only because you can look back and see your improvements and see areas that you need to change, but it's just going to be nice eventually to look back and see all of the progress that you made and your accomplishments. Step 6 is to have a plan for when you get stuck. I think that next to getting started, the hardest part of staying focused when learning to code is not giving up when you get stuck. So my tip for conquering this is to have a plan in place for when that inevitably happens. Your plan could look a little something like this. Step 1, write everything you know about the problem. Step 2, break it down into smaller chunks. Step 3, use those chunks to ask different questions to Google. Step 4, ask for help in a Discord channel. And step 5, iterate or switch tasks. Now, your plan could also be something as simple as going for a 10-minute walk and then coming back and taking a new look at the problem, because sometimes all you really need is to clear your head from tunnel vision to be able to see the problem in a new light. Whatever it is, find something that works for you and write it down. Write it down so that you have something to reference every time you do get stuck. This way, it makes getting stuck not seem so scary anymore and just kind of a normal part of learning to code, which it is, by the way. Tip 7 is to work on 2 projects at once, one main one and one side project. This sort of thing goes hand in hand with step 6. So if you get stuck on your main project, you have something to fall back on so that you don't lose your momentum. And this could be a little bit trickier to do if you're in a bootcamp because you tend to be working on one thing at a time in a bootcamp. So my suggestion would be to kind of keep a running list of things you maybe need to go over, like an assignment you never finished 100% or a lecture that you need to go back and go over. So this can serve kind of as like your side project. Okay, tip 8 is to find a coding buddy if you can. Find a buddy who's also learning how to code so that you can meet up with them weekly or bi-weekly and kind of each give each other a summary of what you've been working on for the past 2 weeks and what you plan on doing for the next time. This is great for 2 reasons. One, it keeps you accountable because you want to show up to the meeting with something to say about what you've done, and it's helping you plan in advance because you have to tell them your plans too. And 2, because you can actually learn a lot from what the other person is experiencing from their self-studying journey. And if you don't know where to find a buddy, I'm planning on making a video about that, so consider subscribing so you don't miss it. Okay, tip 9, I really shouldn't have to say this, but I'm gonna say it anyways. Keep your phone away from you when you're studying. Really, it should be in another room. If you absolutely must need it in the same room as you because you're waiting for a specific call or notification, put it on Do Not Disturb, only allowing that caller or notifier to get through, and don't keep it on your desk. Keep it out of sight. Okay, my last tip is to set a timer and keep it visible. I like to have a visible timer on my desk because I find when you can see the time that's passing by, it just kind of makes you act more efficiently because you're really aware of the time that's passing, especially when you planned to complete a specific task during that allotted time. Another way to kind of activate this awareness of time is to have your schedule next to you. So like if you have a second desktop over there, or if you just want to print it out and have it next to you, that's a great way to also be aware of your time. Okay, so those are all my tips for staying focused when learning how to code. If you like those tips and you want to see more tips, then let me know in the comments down below and I shall deliver. So thank you so much for watching and have a great day.